welcome back to my garage. Today I would like to talk about how I managed to put a electronic ignition into the SRA engine in my RLA scooter. So with the SRA or RLA engine, you got the dynastarter, obviously from Bosch, and that dynastarter has a centrifugal advance. That means when you start the engine, the advance is actually after dead point, top dead center, and as the engine starts, the advance changes. There's a little centrifugal lever inside that flywheel, and then the timing goes to where it should be. A few years ago, having a bit of a look on the internet what I could use, and I came across this electronic ignition box from a German company called Helotronik. They seem to have been used in quite a few different bikes and cars as well. And so they also offer a sensor as well, but the nice thing about that thing was initially that it also worked just off the points, so you could just use the points cable, connecting it straight to the sensor, and that would give you a spark. I was running into a few problems initially because it seemed to me like there was a bit of interference going on, and it just didn't really ever quite work perfectly. So I kind of put it in a box and left it there for a while. But it's been bugging me, and I thought, well, then at some stage I bought myself a 3D printer. I said it must be possible to build myself an adapter or something to get that thing running on a Hall sensor. So again, back on the internet, try to find a Hall sensor, an automotive quality Hall sensor, and I found one actually locally in one of our electronic stores, and JCar in New Zealand, but I'm sure there's similar ones out as well. I think it's an HME sensor. You'll probably find it on the internet. So I built myself an adapter, and well, not a lot of space obviously in that area. Then I had to think about how I would connect a blade to the shaft that actuates the centrifugal advance, and so a blade that then runs through the sensor and does it. So I wanted to keep the centrifugal advance obviously, so in order to be able to start the bike easily. So I designed that, did it all in plastic 3D printer. Then I got it running and actually drove down about 3 kilometers to my station to get my warrant of fitness. Got a warrant of fitness for the bike, and on the way home the the thing that held the blade, which was made out of plastic, not blade was metal, but the adapter was made out of plastic, broke because it just couldn't handle the vibrations obviously. So next step then was to fabricate a ring that would weld to the original thing that sits on the shaft, and so we'll put that together. I had to adjust the sensor again to make sure that all the distances are right, that the blade runs perfectly in the center of that sensor, and it did, and mounted it, and I've been running it for the last 6 months, and it doesn't have any problems whatsoever. So I now have the Helotronik ignition module installed, and I'm turning the ignition on, and the LED comes on, and if I put turn the flywheel, every time the blade goes through the sensor, it fires. Let's see whether you can see that on that spark plug. So I'm just going backwards and forwards. That's cool. And I've got it sitting at exactly 2.5, and that's with the obviously with the centrifugal advance being applied. So I've got there's the arrow, and there's my mark on the, you can't see it on the housing, and it's pretty much the blade, the second blade after the arrow is pretty much exactly 2.5 millimeters before top dead center. The only small thing I found, and that's just an electronic issue, is that when the bike is off, and if I turn the ignition key on and I turn it off again, it will make a spark. I guess it also depends on where the blade is in the sensor, but it would just go a little puff through the carburetor. So that's just something that initially I thought, oh, what's going on? But it makes perfect sense because it just gives a pulse to the electronic ignition module. But otherwise, it runs fine, it starts well, and no more points. So, as I said, something I did on my bike, not something I said that you should or could do, but it is possible to run your SRA or RLA on an electronic ignition because there's no commercial solution for that available. So I thought it would be of interest to you. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Cheers. Bye.